I came home early and found my wife in bed with my brother. My parents took their side, so I disappeared forever. The day I disappeared from my family's life, nobody tried to stop me. At least not at first. My wife was too busy crying. My brother was too busy making excuses. And my parents were too busy telling me to calm down. 3 years later, they all wished they had made a different choice. But by then, I was gone. My name is Daniel Carter. I'm 36 years old. And until 3 years ago, I believed family was supposed to stand by you when your world fell apart. I was wrong. As it turns out, some families only stand by the person causing the damage. My older brother, Tyler, had always been the favorite, not officially. My parents would never admit it. But everyone knew. Tyler got second chances. I got lectures. Tyler got excuses. I got expectations. Tyler got protected. I got blamed. That pattern started when we were kids and never really stopped. If Tyler got into trouble at school, the teacher was unfair. If he crashed a car, the road conditions were bad. If he lost a job, his boss was unreasonable. If I made a mistake, it was somehow proof I needed to try harder. By the time we reached adulthood, I had learned something important. My brother could fail 100 times and still be treated like a victim. I could succeed 100 times and still be expected to do more. So I stopped competing. I focused on building my own life. And for a while, it worked. I built a successful career in commercial real estate. Bought a house. Created stability. Then I met Emily. At least, that's what I thought her name meant to me. Stability. Emily was smart, ambitious, beautiful, and seemed completely different from the chaos I'd grown up around. We dated for 3 years. Married for 5. For most of that time, I believed I was lucky. We hosted holidays. Took vacations. Talked about starting a family. Built routines. Built plans. Built a future. Or at least I thought we did. Looking back now, the warning signs were there. I just ignored them. Because trust has a strange way of blinding you. Especially when it comes to people you love. Emily became protective of her phone. Tyler started dropping by more often. My parents constantly encouraged us to spend more time together as a family. At the time, it seemed harmless. My brother was family. My wife was family. Why would I suspect anything? The answer is simple. Because I trusted them. And trust makes betrayal possible. The day everything collapsed started like any other Tuesday. I was scheduled to spend the entire afternoon showing commercial properties to a potential investor. Then the meeting was canceled. A last-minute emergency. Suddenly my afternoon was free. I decided to surprise Emily. I picked up her favorite coffee. Stopped by a bakery she loved. Bought flowers on the way home. I remember feeling happy. Excited. The kind of excitement that feels embarrassing now. Because while I was planning a surprise for my wife, she was busy destroying our marriage. I pulled into the driveway around 1:30. The first thing I noticed was Tyler's truck. Parked beside the house. That wasn't unusual. He visited often. Especially lately. I grabbed the coffee carrier. Picked up the flowers. Walked through the front door. The house was quiet. Too quiet. I called out Emily's name. No answer. Then I heard movement upstairs. A laugh. A familiar laugh. Tyler's. My stomach tightened immediately. Something felt wrong. I couldn't explain why. I just knew. The closer I got to our bedroom, the stronger the feeling became. At the top of the stairs, I heard another laugh. Then a voice. Emily's. Soft. Comfortable. Intimate. The kind of voice a wife uses with someone she loves. My hand touched the bedroom door. I remember every detail of the next few seconds. The sunlight through the curtains. The flowers in my hand. The sound of my own breathing. Then I pushed the door open. And everything changed. Tyler was in my bed. Emily was beside him. Neither of them noticed me immediately. For one brief second, I saw the truth before either of them could hide it. Comfort. Familiarity. Not guilt. Not panic. Not surprise. Comfort. That hurt more than anything else. Because it meant this wasn't the first time. Then Emily looked up. Her face turned white. Tyler froze. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. The flowers slipped from my hand and hit the floor. I stared at them. My wife. My brother. The two people I trusted most. And suddenly every strange moment from the last year made sense. Every late-night text. Every unexplained absence. Every awkward family dinner. Every instinct I'd ignored. Tyler stood up first. Daniel, listen, I turned and walked away. Not because I wasn't angry. Because I knew if I stayed another minute, I might do something I'd regret. Behind me, I heard Emily shouting my name. I heard Tyler following me downstairs. I heard excuses already forming. But I didn't stop. I got into my truck. Started the engine. And drove. I had no idea that finding them together wasn't going to be the worst part. The worst part would come 2 days later, when my parents chose his side. And that's when I decided to disappear forever. I drove for almost 6 hours that day. No destination, no music, no phone calls, just the sound of the engine and my own breathing. At some point, I pulled into a motel outside Cincinnati and sat in the parking lot until the sun went down. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Emily, Tyler. Emily again. Then my mother, then my father. Then Tyler. By midnight, I had more than 60 missed calls. I didn't answer one. The first text came from Emily. Please come home. We need to talk. Then Tyler. It wasn't what it looked like. I actually laughed when I read that. It wasn't what it looked like? What else could it possibly be? My brother had been in my bed with my wife in the middle of a Tuesday afternoon. There wasn't exactly a misunderstanding there. Then my mother texted. Daniel, whatever happened, don't do anything rash. Family can get through anything. That was the first warning. Whatever happened. Not, are you okay? Not, I'm sorry. Not, what did Tyler do? Whatever happened. Like this was already being softened. Reduced. Managed. By the next morning, I turned off my phone completely. I called my boss from the motel room and told him I needed emergency leave. Then I called a divorce attorney. Then I called my bank. Then I called a locksmith, because even in shock, one thing was clear. I was not going back to that house unprotected. My attorney's name was Rebecca Miles. Calm voice. Sharp mind. No nonsense. When I told her what happened, she didn't waste time with emotional sympathy. She simply said, do not communicate with your wife directly. Document everything. Preserve messages. Don't make threats. Don't empty accounts. Don't destroy property. Let me handle the legal side. That advice saved me, because the old version of me wanted answers. The new version of me needed evidence. 2 days later, I agreed to meet my parents. Not because I trusted them. Because a small, stupid part of me still believed they would stand by me. My mother begged me to come over for dinner. She said we needed to talk as a family. I should have known better. When I arrived, Tyler was there. Sitting in my father's recliner. Like nothing had happened. Emily wasn't there. At least they had enough sense for that. My mother looked nervous. My father looked irritated. Tyler looked ashamed for about 3 seconds. Then he looked annoyed. I stood in the doorway. Nobody moved. Finally, my father said, sit down. I didn't. My mother wrung her hands. Daniel, honey, we know you're hurt. Hurt. Interesting word. Like I'd twisted an ankle. Like I'd been disappointed by a bad restaurant. I looked at Tyler. He couldn't meet my eyes. My father sighed. Your brother made a terrible mistake. There it was. Mistake. The word people use when they want to shrink a betrayal into something small enough to forgive. I stared at my father. A mistake? He nodded slowly, like he was speaking to a child. Yes. A serious one. But still a mistake. I laughed. Tyler flinched. My mother started crying. Please don't laugh. This is hard for everyone. For everyone. That was when something cold settled in my chest. Because I realized they had already decided what this conversation was. Not justice. Not accountability. Damage control. My brother had destroyed my marriage, and somehow they were worried about the family being uncomfortable. I looked at my mother. How long have you known? She froze. That answered me before she spoke. My father shifted in his chair. That's not the point. I turned to him slowly. How long? Silence. Tyler finally muttered. They didn't know everything. Everything. Another interesting word. I took one step into the room. What did they know? My mother started crying harder. My father stood up. Daniel, lower your voice. I am calm. You don't sound calm. I found my wife in bed with my brother 2 days ago. I think I'm doing pretty well. Tyler ran a hand through his hair. Look, man, it wasn't planned. I turned to him. Don't call me man. He swallowed. Then my mother said something I will never forget. Emily was lonely. The room went silent. Even Tyler looked surprised she said it out loud. I stared at her. What? My mother's face crumpled. She told me you were never home. That you were always working. That she felt invisible. And there it was. The excuse. Not even from Emily. From my own mother. My father added, that doesn't make what happened right, but marriages are complicated. I nodded slowly. Marriages are complicated. Yes. He said. So is betrayal. He frowned. Don't twist my words. I'm not twisting anything. My voice was still calm. Too calm. You are telling me my wife had a reason to sleep with my brother. My mother shook her head quickly. No. No. That's not what I mean. Then what do you mean? She had no answer. My father tried again. We're saying you shouldn't throw away your whole family because of this. Because of this. Like this was a spilled drink. A holiday argument. A small disagreement. I looked at Tyler. My older brother. The golden son. The man who borrowed money from me. Ate at my table, called me family. Then climbed into my bed with my wife. What did you tell them? I asked. Tyler looked away. Daniel. What did you tell them? He exhaled. I told them it happened. And? He didn't answer. My mother answered for him. He said it only happened once. I closed my eyes. Only once. The most predictable lie in the world. I pulled out my phone. Turned it on. Waited while the notifications flooded in. Then opened the folder Rebecca had told me to create. Screenshots. Messages. Photos from my home security system showing Tyler arriving when I wasn't home. Again. And again. And again. For months. I had checked the camera logs after calling my attorney. Tyler's truck had been at my house 14 times in the last 3 months when I was gone. 14. I turned the screen toward my parents. Once? Nobody spoke. I swiped. Another screenshot. Another date. Another visit. Another lie. My mother's face went pale. My father stared at the phone. Tyler stood. Why were you checking cameras? I looked at him. Because liars usually leave patterns. He stepped toward me. My father raised a hand. Tyler. Sit down. For the first time that night, my father sounded uncertain. Not angry at Tyler. Not yet. Just uncertain. That was the closest I'd ever seen him come to doubt. Then my mother ruined it. Daniel. Maybe this isn't the time. I stared at her. This is exactly the time. She shook her head. We need to heal. No. I put my phone away. You need me quiet. Her face changed. That's not fair. Neither was walking into my bedroom and finding him with my wife. My father rubbed his forehead. You're angry. We understand that. No, you don't. I looked around the room. At the family pictures on the walls. At old holidays. Birthdays. Graduations. All those frozen moments where we look normal. We are not having a conversation about what Tyler did to me. We're having a conversation about how quickly you can pressure me to get over it. My mother whispered, he's still your brother. I nodded. And that made it worse. Tyler finally snapped. You think you're perfect? I looked at him. He laughed bitterly. You always act like you're better than me. Better job. Better house. Better life. Maybe Emily got tired of living with someone who made everyone feel small. There it was. The truth beneath the betrayal. Jealousy. Resentment. Envy. Not love. Not passion. Not one mistake. My brother had wanted something that belonged to me. And my wife let him take it. I didn't respond to him. There was no point. Instead, I looked at my parents. If I stay in this family, what happens? My father frowned. What do you mean? I mean, what do you expect from me? My mother wiped her face. We expect you to take time. To think. To maybe consider counseling with Emily. And eventually, when you're ready, forgive Tyler. I almost smiled. There it was. The plan. My marriage could be broken. My trust could be destroyed. My life could be ruined. But eventually, I was expected to forgive Tyler. Because Tyler always got forgiven. I nodded once. Thank you. My mother blinked. For what? For making this easy. I turned toward the door. My father stepped forward. Daniel. I stopped but didn't turn around. Don't walk out like this. I looked back. You already chose. He shook his head. No one is choosing. I looked at Tyler. Then. At my mother. Then at him. Yes. You are. My mother whispered. Please. I opened the door. You took his side before I even walked in. Then I left. That night, I blocked them all. My wife. My brother. My mother. My father. Every aunt, uncle, cousin, and family friend who called to say family meant forgiveness. Gone. By the end of the week, I had moved into a furnished apartment downtown. By the end of the month, divorce papers were filed. By the end of the second month, I accepted a transfer opportunity in Denver. I told nobody. Not my parents. Not Emily. Not Tyler. Nobody. I sold what I didn't need. Packed what mattered, changed my number. Deleted social media, handed my attorney instructions. All communication through her. Then I left. No goodbye. No final speech. No dramatic confrontation. I just disappeared. And for the first time in my life, Tyler couldn't take what I built next. Denver saved my life. Not because it was magical. Not because it erased the pain. But because it gave me distance. Distance from Emily. Distance from Tyler. Distance from my parents. Distance from the version of myself that spent years trying to earn love from people who only offered it conditionally. The first few months were hard. Harder than I expected. During the day, I buried myself in work. Commercial real estate was booming. My company had transferred me to oversee several large development projects. The workload was intense. Exactly what I needed. Because work gave me something betrayal couldn't take away. Progress. At night, however, things were different. The apartment felt empty. The silence felt heavy. Sometimes I'd wake up at 3 in the morning replaying everything. The bedroom. My parents. Tyler's excuses. My mother's tears. My father's disappointment. Then I'd remember something. They weren't disappointed in Tyler. They were disappointed in me for refusing to forgive him. That realization hurt every time. The divorce took almost 11 months. Not because I fought it. Because Emily did. At first she begged. Then she cried. Then she blamed me. Then she tried bargaining. Then she wanted counseling. Then she wanted closure. Every stage seemed designed to avoid one simple truth. She had chosen my brother. Repeatedly. My attorney handled everything. I never spoke to Emily directly again. Not once. The final divorce hearing lasted less than 40 minutes. 8 years of marriage. 40 minutes. Funny how life works. When it was over, I walked outside, sat in my truck, and expected to feel something. Relief. Freedom. Anger. Sadness. Anything. Instead, I felt tired. Just tired. The person I married had disappeared long before the paperwork ended. The legal process was simply catching up. About a year after moving to Denver, something unexpected happened. I got promoted. Then 6 months later, promoted again. The projects I'd been managing were wildly successful. Investors trusted me. Developers respected me. And for the first time in my life, nobody compared me to Tyler. Nobody asked me to sacrifice for someone else. Nobody expected me to clean up another person's mistakes. I was being judged on my own merit. And apparently I was pretty good at it. By the time 3 years had passed, I was earning more money than I ever imagined. I bought a beautiful home overlooking the foothills. Nothing extravagant, just peaceful. A place that belonged to me, a place built on honesty. One Saturday morning, I was drinking coffee on the back patio when my phone rang. Unknown number. Normally I ignored unknown numbers. Something made me answer. Hello? Silence. Then a familiar voice. My mother. I froze. 3 years. 3 years since I'd spoken to any of them. 3 years of complete silence. Daniel? Her voice sounded older. Smaller. Fragile. I didn't answer immediately. Finally I said, what do you want? She started crying. Immediately. Just hearing my voice had been enough. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she whispered. We need help. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was predictable. After 3 years of silence, they needed help. Interesting. What happened? A long pause. Then she said 2 words. It's Tyler. Of course it was. Even after all this time. Still Tyler. Always Tyler. I leaned back in my chair. What about him? Another pause. Longer this time. Then she said something I never expected. He's in prison. I sat upright. What? My mother began crying harder. Apparently after I disappeared, Tyler and Emily officially became a couple. That part wasn't surprising. What happened next was, for a while, everything looked perfect. At least from the outside. Family gatherings. Vacation photos. Social media posts. The happy ending they thought they wanted. Then reality arrived. Tyler had borrowed money. A lot of money. From friends. Business partners. Private investors. And eventually, he crossed a line. Fraud. Fake contracts. Forged signatures. Promises that didn't exist. The same pattern he'd followed his entire life. Only this time, the consequences were bigger. Much bigger. No parents to rescue him. No brother to blame. No wife to hide behind. Eventually federal investigators got involved. Then came arrests. Charges. Court dates. And finally a prison sentence. My mother sounded broken. My father had suffered a minor stroke 6 months earlier. Most of their retirement savings were gone. Legal fees had consumed the rest. And suddenly everything made sense. The golden child had finally become too expensive. For years they'd spent money protecting him. Now they were paying for the damage. Again. Except this time the bill was too large. My mother took a shaky breath. Can we see you? I looked across the mountains. The view was beautiful. Peaceful. Everything I'd built existed because I left. Because I walked away. Because I stopped letting other people define my worth. And now they wanted back in. The old Daniel would have said yes immediately. The old Daniel would have rushed to help. The old Daniel would have sacrificed himself again. That man no longer existed. I'll think about it. My mother cried harder. But she thanked me. Then the call ended. For the next week, I thought about it constantly. Not Tyler. My parents. The truth was, despite everything, I missed them. Not the version who chose him. The version before all that. The version from childhood. The version before excuses became more important than honesty. Eventually, I agreed to meet them, not at my house. Not for a weekend. One lunch. Neutral territory. A restaurant halfway between the airport and downtown. The day arrived. I got there early. Sat near the window. Ordered coffee. Then waited. 20 minutes later, they walked in. For a moment, I barely recognized them. My father looked older, much older. My mother looked exhausted. The weight of years seemed written across both their faces. When they saw me, they stopped walking. Almost like they couldn't believe I was real. 3 years, that's a long time. My mother started crying before she even reached the table. My father hugged me. The first real hug I could remember receiving from him as an adult. And suddenly nobody knew what to say. Finally my father spoke. We were wrong. Simple. Direct. No excuses. No qualifications. No mention of family. No mention of forgiveness. Just truth. We were wrong. My mother nodded. Again and again. We should have believed you. I looked at them quietly. Then my father said something that hit harder than anything else. The day you left. He stopped. Swallowed hard. Then continued. You were the only person in the family acting with self-respect. Silence. Heavy silence. Because we all knew it was true. They had spent years protecting Tyler from consequences. I had protected myself. And that made all the difference. My mother wiped away tears. Do you know what hurts the most? I shook my head. We lost you while trying to save him. Nobody spoke after that. Because there was nothing left to say. The truth had finally arrived. 3 years late. But it arrived. We talked for nearly 4 hours. Not about Tyler, about everything else. My daughters they had never met. My career. My life. The years we'd lost. When lunch finally ended, my father looked at me. Carefully. Like he was afraid of the answer. Can we try again? Not as if nothing happened. Not pretending. Not demanding forgiveness. Just trying again. I thought about it. Then nodded once. Slowly. My mother cried again. This time they were different tears. The drive home felt strange. For the first time in years, I wasn't angry. Not because they deserved forgiveness. Because I no longer needed anger. Tyler spent 20 years taking. Emily spent years lying. My parents spent years choosing the wrong side. And yet somehow, I ended up with the better life. The better future. The better peace. The truth is, disappearing wasn't revenge. It wasn't punishment. It wasn't a strategy. It was survival. I came home early and found my wife in bed with my brother. My parents took their side. So I disappeared forever. And losing me was the first consequence they couldn't protect him from. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you really like our videos, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Have a great day.